In the unforgiving North Atlantic, some 20 miles west of the Outer Hebrides, lie the Flannan Isles. For centuries, these windswept, uninhabited rocks have been a place of superstition and dread for sailors. But in the year 1900, they became the stage for one of the most enduring maritime mysteries of all time. At the highest point of Eilean Mr, the largest of the islands, stands a solitary lighthouse, a beacon of hope against the savage seas. In December of 1900, it was manned by 3 experienced keepers, James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and William MacArthur. They were seasoned men, accustomed to the isolation and the relentless power of the ocean. Their job was simple but vital: keep the light burning. But one day, the light went out, and the men vanished without a trace. Just after Christmas, on December 26th, the relief vessel Hesperus made its way towards the island, its captain, Tim Harvey, already uneasy. The lighthouse had been dark for days, a serious breach of protocol. As the Hesperus pushed through the thick, eerie fog and drew closer, a sense of dread fell over the crew. They sounded the ship's horn and fired a flare, hoping for a response. But the island remained silent. The lighthouse stood stark and lifeless against the grey sky. Reluctantly, a landing party was sent ashore. What they found only deepened the mystery. The main entrance gate and the courtyard were securely closed. Inside the lighthouse, the scene was even more perplexing. A meal of salted mutton and potatoes lay uneaten on the kitchen table. A chair was overturned as if someone had jumped up in a hurry. The clocks had all stopped. Everything was neat and orderly, yet profoundly wrong. It was as if the keepers had simply evaporated into thin air. The only living things left on the island were the canaries, still alive in their cage. The most crucial piece of evidence discovered was the lighthouse logbook. The last entries, penned by Thomas Marshall, painted a terrifying picture. He wrote of a storm the likes of which he'd never seen. He described ferocious winds and towering waves that crashed over the top of the 200-foot-high cliffs. He noted that James Duckett had been unusually quiet, and that William MacArthur, a notoriously tough and seasoned mariner, had been crying. The entries spoke of the men praying and huddling together as the storm raged for days, a storm that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. But here is the twist. Official weather reports for the area during that period showed calm seas and clear skies. There was no storm. So, what were the keepers describing? Were these entries a record of a real event, or a descent into shared madness brought on by the crushing isolation? After a brief investigation, the Northern Lighthouse Board, the keeper's employer, reached an official conclusion. They theorized that on the afternoon of December 15th, a series of colossal, unexpected rogue waves had swept over the island. They suggested that 2 of the keepers had gone down to the western landing to secure a storage crate that was in danger of being washed away. When they were suddenly engulfed by a giant wave, the 3rd keeper, seeing his colleagues in peril, must have rushed out to help, only to be swept away himself. This would explain the unfinished meal and the overturned chair, a sudden emergency that required immediate action. But this official explanation, while neat, is riddled with inconsistencies that have puzzled investigators for over a century. Why would 3 experienced lighthouse keepers, men who knew the sea better than anyone, venture out together during what they believed was a horrific storm? Standard procedure dictated that one man must always remain on duty inside the lighthouse. It was the golden rule. Furthermore, when the landing party checked the keeper's quarters, they found that while 2 sets of oilskins and boots were missing, 1 set remained. This implies one of the men ran out into a furious Atlantic storm wearing only his indoor clothes, an act that borders on suicidal for a man of the sea. And perhaps the most haunting fact of all, despite extensive searches of the surrounding waters and islands, the bodies of James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and William MacArthur were never found. The ocean simply swallowed them whole, leaving behind no clues. Over the decades, theories have swirled around the Flannan Isles mystery, ranging from the plausible to the paranormal. The rogue wave theory, despite its flaws, remains the most accepted scientific explanation. Freak waves, once thought to be sailors' myths, are now a recognized phenomenon, capable of immense and unpredictable destruction. Another theory suggests a far more human drama. Perhaps the isolation and confinement took their toll. Maybe a fight broke out between the men. Could one keeper have murdered the other 2 in a fit of rage and then, overcome with guilt, thrown himself into the sea? This could explain the overturned chair and the sense of panic, but it's pure speculation with no concrete evidence. Then there are the more supernatural explanations. woven from the island's ancient and spooky folklore.
Local legends spoke of strange beasts and the little people who inhabited the isles and resented human intrusion.
Some have suggested the men were abducted by a sea serpent, or perhaps driven mad by ghostly voices carried on the wind. One particularly chilling theory points to a more specific entry in a logbook, where Marshall wrote of a storm that ended as suddenly as it began, leaving the sea like a millpond. But they were still praying. Could they have seen something truly terrifying out in the calm water? Something that lured them to their doom?
Today, the Flannan Isles Lighthouse is automated. It still stands, a silent, lonely monument on that remote rock, its powerful beam cutting through the darkness.
But it guards more than just the treacherous waters. It guards a secret.
The mystery of what happened to its first keepers remains as deep and as dark as the Atlantic waters that surround it.
We are left with a stopped clock, an uneaten meal, and a set of bizarre logbook entries describing a phantom storm.
The truth, it seems, vanished along with the three men, lost forever to the winds and waves of Eilean MR. It's a chilling reminder that even in our modern world, there are still places where the line between the known and the unknown is terrifyingly thin, and some questions may never have an answer. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy diving into history's greatest unsolved mysteries, be sure to subscribe for more.